Welcome to week 5 of Collaborative Corner.
Today in music, we're going to be reviewing note names, note values, and rhythm syllables.
And in art, we are going to continue working on our paper design for our sketchbook project.
Let's get started! All right, boys and girls, today we are going to review our note names and their values and the rhythm syllables that we speak them on. Now, we're also going to be creating a visual aid that you can make and keep at home so that if you want to review your notes, you can. So I want to challenge you first. So here we go. Here is our first note. What is this? Do you know? If you know it, say it out loud now. Go. This is a quarter note. Everybody say quarter note. Let's try it again. Quarter note. Do you remember how many beats this gets? Let's see. It gets 1 beat. Now here's the tricky question. What do we say when we see this note in music? Do you know? Ta. Say ta. Ta. It gets 1 beat. Okay? Good job. Let's go to the next one. This, do you know what this is? This is 8th note. It's actually 2. 8th notes. Can you say 8th notes? Do you know how many beats this gets? I told you the answer. That's 8th notes right there. Do you know how many beats it gets? You might be thinking 2, but actually it only gets 1 beat. Let me explain. A lot of us have talked about beat bars, and we know that a beat bar goes right here. It sits underneath this note, okay? And a beat bar can only have 1 beat on it, but there's a difference between beats and sound. This note has 2 sounds, but it's on 1 beat, okay? So we say T-T. Can you say that? Here we go. T-T. So if we were to put these 2 notes together, we would say ta, T-T. Say that, go. Ta, T-T. Good. All right, let's look at our third one. What is this? Do you think you know? It's a half note. See, ta-da, half note. Say half note. Good job. How many beats do you think this gets? Show me how many fingers. It gets 2 beats. Say half note, 2 beats. Good. So when we see this note, we are going to say ta. Is that 2 beats? Yes. Can you say it with me? Here we go. Ta. Good. So if I were to put these 2 together, we would say T-T ta. Can you say it with me? Ready? Go. T-T ta. What if I did this? What would we say? Ready, go. Ta, ta. Try it again. Ta, ta. Good. And last but not least, we have this. What is this? It looks a little bit different than all the other ones. It doesn't have any stems coming out from the note. Do you know what it is? It's a whole note. Say whole note. Good job. Do you know how many beats it gets? 4. It gets 4 beats. Say whole note, 4 beats. Good. What do we say for a whole note? We're going to say toll, and we spell that T-O-L-E, and we're going to say it just like this. Toll. Was that 4 beats? Can you say it with me? Ready, go. Toll. Great, you guys. Now today we're also going to be creating a visual aid for you to have at home. Before we do this, you're going to need a couple of supplies. The first thing you'll need is a piece of paper. You'll also need a writing utensil, a pencil, a marker, a Sharpie. Any of those things will be fine, whichever you would prefer. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds to go and find those things now. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and your time's up. Okay, so let's get started. All right, the first thing I want you to do is hold your paper up like this. It should look like a rectangle. The two long sides should be on the top and the bottom. We don't want the short side to face the top. We want the long side to face the top. Now, I know that you guys fold your paper in class, and I know you do it with Miss Walter, so we're gonna do it in here too. I want you to fold it like it is a hamburger style. So I'm going from long, we're gonna fold it in half, just like this. I'm gonna make sure that it lines up with the edges, and then you're going to crease it just like this, okay? Crease it just like this. I'll give you just a second to match me. Make sure it matches, and you wanna crease the side. Then I want you to take your paper, and you're gonna see where it opens a little bit, okay? I want you to take that part, put it towards the ground. The seam should be facing up. Then you're gonna fold this paper in half again. If you get a little behind, you can pause this video at any time, okay? So I'm gonna bring the ends together. I'm gonna fold this in half, and I'm going to line up the edges and crease my paper again, okay? And it should look like this. I'm gonna do the same thing. Over here, see it opens on this end? Okay, on the side where it's creased, I'm gonna make that face the ceiling, okay? Then I'm gonna fold this part in half too, like so. It keeps getting smaller and smaller, doesn't it? Sorry, I didn't mean to take it away from you so you couldn't see it. Okay, and then we're going to fold it one more time, okay? So you're gonna fold this one in half as well. It can get a little tricky and gets kind of hard to fold and a little uneven, but it doesn't have to be perfect. We just need some boxes, which you'll see in just a second. So once you're finished folding your paper, it'll look like this, very tiny, okay? Then I want you to open it up. You should have a bunch of rectangles on your paper. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4 across, and 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Now, the next thing I want you to do is grab your pencil or marker or pen. You got it? Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this paper and you are going to trace all of the lines. For example, if I see a line that goes all the way down my paper, I'm going to trace it like this. See that? But I'm also going to trace all of the other lines as well. Can you do that with me? Did I get all of the lines? I still have more lines going this way, so I need to color all of those in. Trace all of those lines. I want you to do it with me. Again, if you get behind, feel free to pause this video at any time. Okay. This is what it should look like. Now, here's the tricky part. Once you are done doing this, I want you to turn your paper to the other side and do the exact same thing, okay? So we are going to trace all of these lines to create a bunch of boxes. Now, if you don't have the right amount of boxes on your paper, you can ask your grandma or your grandpa or your mom or dad or your brother or sister, somebody to help you, because you want to make sure that you have just the right amount of boxes. You should have 16. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Good job. And then you should have all of your lines traced on both sides. Okay, great. So the very first thing we're going to do is draw some notes on our paper. This chart is going to help us visualize how many beats each note gets, as well as what exactly we say when we see the notes. So the first note that we're going to draw on our paper is the whole note. Remember, it looks like this, okay? So I want you to look at the very first box on the left. This is it. In this box, I am going to draw a whole note, kind of like a circle, okay? Now, a whole note gets 4 beats. So we're going to pretend that each one of these boxes is a beat. What I want you to do is we're going to draw an arrow through all of these because we know that a whole note gets 4 beats like this. To. So you're going to take your writing utensil and you are going to draw an arrow through all of those boxes just like that. Now, when you're done drawing your whole note, I want you to write the name of it underneath it. So with your marker or pencil, I want you to write whole note underneath the note so you can see exactly what kind of note it is, okay? Now, the next thing we're going to draw is a half note. Do you remember what that looks like? This one is a little tricky to draw, but I'm going to give you a little hint. We're going to pretend like we're drawing or writing the letter D, except when we write the letter D, a lot of times we have this little line right here, a stem that comes down. We don't want that. So it might be best for you to start with a circle, and then you're going to draw a stem that comes into that note, okay? And it will look just like this on your paper in that same box. Can you do that? Okay. Now, a half note gets how many beats? 2. Say half note, 2 beats. Half note, 2 beats. Great job. So I'm going to draw an arrow from here to this box because it would only take up these 2, like this. Ta, half note. So I'm going to draw an arrow like so. See it? Can you do that? I also want you to write half note under the half note. You spell it H-A-L-F, then you need a space, N-O-T-E, just like this, half note, okay? Now, what do we do with these other 2 boxes? Because we have 2 more beats available. Well, in that next box, the third one, you're going to draw another half note, just like that. And since a half note takes up 2 beats, nothing can go here anyway. So we're going to draw an arrow over to that box as well. And then I also want you to write half note under that note, just like this. In our third column, we are going to draw some quarter notes. They look like this. Remember? How many beats does a quarter note have? It gets 1 beat, okay? So, I have a question. If we have 4 beats here, because this box gets 1 beat, that one does too, and that one, how many quarter notes are we going to draw right here? We know a quarter note gets 1 beat. So how many quarter notes are we going to draw? 4. We're going to draw 4. We're going to draw 1 quarter note in every single box. Can you do that? Now, it's just like a half note. You can even draw it just like a half note. The bubble with the stem, but a quarter note, you have to color in the bubble. So it looks like this, okay? And then I actually want you to write the words quarter note. Let's spell that. Q-U-A-R-T-E-R, and then the word note, N-O-T-E, like this. I want you to draw and write this in every single one of these boxes. And it will look like this. Okay? Now, once you've drawn all of those notes, I want you to write quarter note under every single one. I'm going to do that with you now. Quarter note. Quarter note. Quarter note. Okay? So far, this is what your paper should look like. right? Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a challenge. In your boxes on the bottom row, we're going to draw some dashes to separate the boxes. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. You see how I put some lines straight down the middle of this? So basically what this line is doing, it's allowing me to have two boxes instead of one. Okay, so I'm going to do that to all of my boxes. I want to split them up. I want to make it so each box, instead of only being one, is now two. And I'm just using some dashes. And it looks like this. I'll give you just a second to do those. So just take your pencil or your marker, and just go dash, 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 dash. And in the middle of every single box on that bottom row. Okay, just like that. So what I want you to do when we are drawing eighth notes, it's a little bit different. So I want you to go ahead and pretend you're drawing a quarter note like this, okay? And then you're going to draw another one right next to it like this. But the thing that's different with these is you connect them with a bar across the top. Do you see that? Okay. This is what we're going to do with our paper, but one of them is going to go on one side of the dotted line and the other will go on the second side of the dotted line, like so. Right now, it looks like I have two quarter notes, but I'm going to draw a line across, a bar across the top, so that they are connected. Do you see that? Now, this dotted line is giving us a hint. We know that this is a set of eighth notes and we get one beat. But this is trying to show us how many beats does it get if it's by itself. If all you see is this, okay? And actually, it won't even look like that when it's by itself. And you guys know this because we've talked about this. But when an eighth note is alone, it looks like this. It has a little flag at the top, okay? But when it's by itself, it gets half a beat. Let me explain to you. If you have a pizza, okay, a whole pizza, okay, and you want to share it with just your mom, only you and your mom, you would split that pizza in half, right? So it's no longer one pizza. It is two halves, right? You have this half and you have this half. So what you do is you separate them like so. So this is a half and this is a half. But if you decided to put those halves together, would you still have two halves? No, you would have one whole pizza. This is one whole pizza, which is exactly why when we have two eighth notes together, they get one whole beat. Does that make sense? I hope so. A little bit of math for you in there. You didn't know that music had fractions in it, did you? Now, underneath each one of these notes, I want you to write the word eighth and eighth. And this can be a tricky word to spell, so let me help you. We're going to write E-I-G-H-T-H. Okay? But I want you to write it under both of the notes. So we wrote one here. Now let's write one here too. E-I-G-H-T-H. Cool. Now, for the next two, we're going to draw our notes a little differently because sometimes in music, we see eighth notes in different ways. Let me show you. Here is another way that you may see eighth notes. You're probably thinking, Miss Livingston, these are upside down. Well, they are, but sometimes we see them like that. Does the value of the note change? Does our rhythm syllable change? No, we still say TT, and it still is one beat all together, a half for this one and a half for this one. So it's still eighth notes. But just like we did over here, we said eighth, eighth. I want you to write the same thing under here, eighth and eighth. Remember, it's E-I-G-H-T-H. E-I-G-H-T-H. Cool. Now, in our next couple of boxes, we are going to draw these notes like they are just a single eighth note on their own. So in the first box, you're going to pretend you're writing a quarter note, okay? Just like so. But then I want you to draw a little flag at the top of the stem like this, okay? Let me show you. You see that? That is also how we may see an eighth note if it's by itself, okay? So you're going to draw another one in the other box. Make sure you color your bubbles in. Once you're done with that, you're going to write the word eighth under both of them, just like so. Next, we're going to draw these eighth notes upside down, but separate. You see how this is the correct way? Not correct, but the right side up way. And this one looks like it's upside down. We're going to do the same thing with these. So it looks a little bit like this. Do you see how the hook comes down and then around? That's what I want you to do. Okay, try it again with me. Little bubble, draw your stem down, and you're going to draw your little flag up just a little bit. So it looks like this. You see that? Okay. And then you're going to write the same words because they're still eighth notes. Eighth, eighth. Now, this side of our paper is going to help you know what the note names are and also how many beats they get. So let's review really quick before we go to the other side of this paper. This is a what kind of note? Say whole note. How many beats does it get? We can even count if you don't remember. 1, 2, 3. How many? 4. Good. Next we have a half note. Say half note. How many beats does a half note get? 2. Good. Half note. Half note. Good. What's this called? It's called a quarter note. How many beats does a quarter note get? How many boxes is it in? Just one. A quarter note gets 1 beat. And all of these are eighth notes, right? So this eighth note gets 1 beat. But if we were to separate and just see 1, it would only get half a beat. Does that make sense? Good. All right, I want you to take a quick break. Breathe in, breathe out, and turn your paper over to the other side. Here we go. If you haven't caught up yet, this is a good time to pause. And then we can get back to the other side. So on our other side of the paper, you already have all of these lines drawn. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw the same notes that we just did, except the words are going to change. We're not going to write the name of the note. We're going to write what we say when we see it in the music. We're going to call these rhythm syllables. The syllables that we say when we see these rhythms, these notes, okay? Up here in the very first box in the upper left-hand corner, we're going to draw another whole note, like so. That's kind of like a big circle in this rectangle. Big circle right there. Now, we just reviewed that a whole note has 4 notes, so we're going to draw that arrow all the way across those boxes. So your boxes should look like this. Your whole note, and then your arrow all the way across. Now, we know from earlier that a whole note gets 4 beats, like we just said. But what do we say? What's the rhythm syllable that we speak when we see a whole note? We say toll, right? So we're actually going to spread that out across our boxes. So you're going to write a letter in each box. In this first box, you're going to write a T. In the second box, you're going to write an O. In the third box, you're going to write an L. And in the fourth box, you're going to write an E, just like this. Now, this is going to help us practice. So after this video, maybe in a couple of days, when you see this paper, if you forget how many beats does a whole note have, you can look at this and count. 1, 2, 3, 4. It gets 4. It gets 4 beats. Well, what do I say for a whole note? Well, it tells us right here. We say toll. Cool, right? Okay. So in the next box down, right here, we're going to draw a half note. Remember, a half note looks just like this. Okay, so we're going to draw that, but right here underneath that T box. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little bubble. We don't color this one in because it's a half note. And draw the stem going up, like so. Then I want you to draw an arrow going to the next box because we know that a half note actually gets 2 beats. 1, 2. Now, instead of writing half note, we're going to write what we say for a half note, which is what? Ta. Can you say that? Ta. So underneath the half note right here, I want you to write T-A like this. And then underneath the arrow, you're going to write another A like that. So we see this, we know ta, ta, ta. I want you to do the same thing you did right here in these 2 boxes, and it will look like this. Here, do it with me now. Draw a bubble. Don't color it in. Stem going up. Draw your arrow from the half note into the next box because it gets 2 beats. And then underneath it, we're going to write T-A and then an A underneath the arrow. So it looks like this. Now in our next boxes, we're going to draw quarter notes. Remember, quarter notes look like this. We draw a bubble and the stem going up. We have to color that bubble in too, like this. Can you draw one of those, a quarter note, in every single box after that? I'll do it with you. Draw a bubble, color it in, stem going up. Draw a bubble, color it in, stem going up. Bubble, color it in, stem going up. So your paper should look like this. Now a quarter note gets 1 beat, and every time we see it, what do we say? Ta. Say ta. Good. So I want you to write ta underneath every single quarter note. T-A. Just like this. Ta. And you're going to do that for every single quarter note. There's 4 of them. So it'll look like this. Okay? Now, we're going to do the exact same thing on this side of the paper that we did on the other side. Do you remember how we drew those dashed lines down the middle of each box on the other side? We're going to do the same thing here. And if your paper's like mine, you might even be able to see through it, and you can make your lines exactly in the exact same spot where they were on the other side. So Miss Livingston's going to do that first. It's going to be our next step. Put your little dashed lines through all of these boxes. So really, instead of 4 boxes, you have 8, which is kind of cool. And this is what it's going to look like once you're done. Okay, so once you draw your dashed lines, we're going to draw some 1/8 notes in these boxes. We're going to, in this first box, draw this set of 1/8 notes. So you're going to draw a little bubble, color it in, draw a stem up, and you might want to pause there and go ahead and draw your other bubble, color it in, stem up, and then you can draw this bar across to connect them, okay? Then on the next, in the next boxes, you're going to draw this same 1/8 notes, but kind of this way, upside down, okay? So your bubble, colored in, stem down, bubble, colored in, stem down, and on the left side, and then you're going to draw a bar at the bottom and connect them, okay? Now, we did the same thing on the other side of the paper, where on these 2, we're not going to connect them. See how they look here? We're going to draw one by itself, stem up, and then draw a flag. That's what we're going to draw here, because sometimes we see them separated and not together like this. So, in this first box, you're going to draw a bubble, stem up, flag down, and you're going to do the same thing for the next one. So it should look like this. Okay? And then in the next boxes, you're going to do the exact same thing, except the stems are going to go down and up. The flag goes up. Draw a bubble, stem down, flag up. Draw a bubble, color it in, stem down, go up. So it will look like this. I'll give you just a second to match my paper. Okay. Now, when we see eighth notes, we say what? A set of them, if we see this, we say T-T. You say T-T, 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 T-T. Good. But we remember that if you just see one of them, okay, instead of saying T-T, what are you going to say? Just T. Okay? So I want you, under every single eighth note, to write T-T, T-I, 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 T-I. And same here. So if you were to just see this note by itself, what would you say? You would just say T. Can you say that? T. Good. So I'm going to write T, 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 and T. So it looks like this. All right, so this is your paper. Remember, one side tells you the names of the notes and it shows you how many beats it gets, right? Well, then the other side is going to also show you how many beats it gets, but also the rhythm syllable that you will say. Now, I want to challenge you guys to be practicing these. Practice sitting down with your paper and saying them whole note, to, because it gets 4 beats. Practice doing this because next week I am going to have a challenge for you guys where I'm going to write down some rhythms and I'm going to see if you can speak them at home, and you may even get to write your own rhythms next week as well. So be practicing this with your paper so that next week you will be ready to go, okay? All right, I'll see you guys later. We're going to go on over to Miss Walters and see what she's got for us today.
All right, boys and girls, today we are going to continue our paper design project, and we are going to be designing a piece of paper today using some shaving cream, whatever you can find at the store. This is about $1 at the dollar store. Some food coloring, and you're going to need something pointy, so you can get a stick. This is a kebab stick, something you use for cooking, so you could get a toothpick, a stick from your yard. If you have something like this around the house, that'll work as well, okay? So this is one of my favorite types of paper design. This is going to be a marble design. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take our shaving cream and we're going to line the bottom of our pan with a layer of shaving cream, okay? Now make sure you ask permission to use all these different tools before you use them at your home, okay? So once we have that layer, what we're going to do is we're going to just take our hand and kind of smush it and smooth it around. If you don't like the feeling of the shaving cream, you can use a plastic card or a ruler to try to smooth it around, but this is probably my favorite part of the process, is getting to smooth it around and touch the soft shaving cream. So I'm just going to scrape that extra off on the sides. I also have a roll of paper towels here. You might want to have some handy too, just so you can wipe your hands off when you're done with this step. And next we're going to get our food coloring. So last week we did a chalk design paper and we used some cool colors. So this week I'm going to use some warm colors. I'm going to use this red, I'm going to use this yellow. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lid off of my food coloring and I'm just going to add a couple of drops all around the surface of our shaving cream. Okay, I'm done with the red. So now I'm going to move on to the orange. If you have more colors, you're welcome to use them. I would stay in the same color family. So for example, I'm using my warm colors here. If you have a yellow or a pink or another type of food coloring, you can use those, but make sure they're in the same color family. If you're going to do cool colors, you can use blues and greens and purples. Okay. So now that we have these dots over the top of the surface of our shaving cream, we're going to get our stick out, a little pokey. And what we're going to do, and it's very important that you're gentle with this step, we're just going to drag this stick across the surface of our paper. Excuse me, our shaving cream. Now, what you should avoid doing, and what I see a lot of people do when they do this activity, is they mix too much, okay? You don't want to mix so that it turns into a big blob of color over here. You want to be able to see the white of the shaving cream underneath. So I'm just going to go around, add a few more lines. Okay. Awesome. I think I like it how it is. So what we're going to do now, same as we did last week, you're going to get a sheet of paper, 9 by 12. That's your standard size sheet of paper. And you are going to take this sheet of paper and you're going to fold it in half, short side to short side. So make sure those edges are lined up real nice. Put a crease down the middle. Oh, didn't get my edges quite lined up. And after our paper is folded in half, what we are going to do is we are going to lay our paper on top of our shaving cream. Okay. And you're just going to press down all those corners and edges just to make sure that the entire surface of the paper is getting some color. Okay. And we'll wait a second. If you open the paper, depending on how thick the paper you're working with is, you should be able to see it, the ink bleeding through on the other side, or the food color bleeding through, which means coming through and sticking to the paper. So now we're going to pull it up. Ooh, okay. And this will happen at first most of the time. So right now I have a lot of shaving cream on my page. What you can do is you can take a ruler, and in one scrape you can scrape it all off like this. Can't really do it so well with your stick. I don't have a ruler handy, so I'm just going to use this paper towel. So let's take a second and move this out of the way. I'm going to sit a paper towel down, a couple paper towels down. And I'm going to just wipe off all this extra shaving cream that you see. Now, if you do this with a ruler, you're not going to get all these smeared colors, but I kind of like the smeared tint because then that gives our entire paper a little bit of color. And another paper towel, and wipe, and wipe it all off. Awesome. Now, if we look a little bit more closely, you can see that all those designs, all those lines that we made on top of our shaving cream are now transferred over onto our paper. Okay, now this is only one side. You can still do the other side if you would like, but all you will need to do is add a few more drops on your existing shaving cream, or take your pan into the sink or the bathtub and just flush all this stuff down the drain. All you have to do is rinse it out, clean it out really quickly, not a lot of mess, and then you can do the same colors on the other side, or you can do a different color. Okay, so that is our marbling paper process for today's activity.
Thank you for joining us again this week, you guys. We hope you enjoyed it.
We miss you all so much, and we hope we get to see you all soon.
Don't forget to
Like and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.